Hi again, everyone. Gary Digit Williams here on Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. And you can always hear the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network on Spreaker.com, Stitcher.com. Remember, we had that offer for you, 3 months worth of premium on as we go to if you go on Stitcher.com and put in the code BOXING. You get a free month of Stitcher Premium. We're also heard on iHeartRadio.com, TuneIn.com, and two new podcast networks and one podcast sites, and one returning site have now joined the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. We can be heard now on Podcast Addict. We're also heard on Spotify, and we're back on Google Podcasts. So 3 new ways to hear the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. You hear all the great commentary and great content we have for free on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network is brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain, everything between, Boxing on the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, you buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief, the official pain relief for the 2020 Daytona 500. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. She has great weight loss tips as always, great jewelry that she sells on her site, and also great training methods. So go to Deborah, that's Debra Spears.com. Quite frankly, a lot of strange things have happened in the last week or so. That's why we're a little late with this podcast this week. I do apologize for not being able to attend the card that took place on Friday, October 18th at Live Casino Hanover, Maryland. The Jetta Promotions card. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I had some minor issues, actually kind of major issue, actually. I couldn't find my wallet. And I think my wallet had been stolen. And everything was in my wallet, my license and all that. So I, at last minute, had to back out of that card. I do apologize to Jetta Promotions and everybody involved, because I heard it was a very good card. We're going to talk about it right now. But I could not make that card. So I do apologize for that. But anyway, Juan Marshall, my partner from Pro-Am Fight Talk, he put out a great report as always, and a lot of this will be based on his report. So the main event of the contest, Damon, the best Dad Nicholson, he defeated Devon Lee of Jamaica, Queens, New York by 10-round unanimous decision in the main event. Nicholson, according to Juan, looked very strong in the bout. Considering he had to step out of his last scheduled appearance. He had suffered kidney failure right before his bout on May 11th at EcoBank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia. But in this bout, Nicholson landed some great counter punches he put together after Lee attempted to land jabs. Nicholson applied continuous hard pressure, but Lee was able to stay in the contest. Lee did a little better job of keeping his guard up, but Nicholson was landing some good hard shots. It became a war a little bit in 6th round, but finally Nicholson took off, and he was able to, actually it was an 8th round bout, I said 10 rounds, 8th round bout. Nicholson let his hands go in the final round, put a number of body shots, and closed the show very nicely. All 3 judges on the card, on the bout I should say, scored about 79-73 for Nicholson. Nicholson is now 22-3 with 1 draw, 20 KOs. Lee falls to 10-7-1 with 5 KOs. The co-feature saw the return of DC heavyweight Danny Smooth Kelly, and he defeated Baltimore, Maryland Slick Nick Kisner by 3rd round TKO. Kisner and Kelly used the opening round to feel each other out, Juan said, but Kelly turned things up quickly in round 2, came forward, put more pressure on Kisner. Kelly landed a hard right hand that sent Kisner to the canvas for an 8 count. Kisner beat that count, but Kelly came back with the same right hand, sent him down again. Kisner was able to finish the 2nd round, but he looked hurt. And finally, in round 3, Kelly had Kisner in the neutral corner, landed the right hand again for the final time, dropped Kisner. Referee Bill Clancy waved the contest off at 104 of the 3rd round. So Kelly had not fought since 2016, but looks like no ring rust as he raised his record now to 10-3-1 with 9 KOs. Kisner falls to 21-5-1, 6 KOs, and after the bout, he made an announcement on Facebook, both written and by video, and he ended up giving his retirement. He announced his retirement after the bout. So looks like Kisner, who has had a pretty good career overall. I mean, he had a great amateur career. He had one of the best amateurs we've had in quite some time in this area, but just couldn't get over the hump as far as major bouts were concerned. He fall a little bit short. He had a NABA title, but he actually won the NABA cruiserweight title. But when he came with big bouts, he just couldn't get over the hump. He went overseas a couple of times and just tough one. But really, one of the more exciting boxers we've had in this area. And I hate to see him going, honestly, because he's a good guy. He's a very good guy. I think he'll do well. He says he can't stand boxing anymore, which he's been doing it ever since he was very young, and maybe he's just gotten tired of it. But I hope he comes back as a trainer like his father. Danny Kisner was his trainer his entire career, and Nick, I think, has a good head for the boxing sport. I really think he would be a fine trainer. So hopefully he'll change his mind and start training again on a regular basis. It'd be nice. Training of the boxers, that is, on a regular basis. Other bouts on the card: Suitland, Maryland featherweight, the ambitious one Malik Lofton scored a second round TKO over Omar Etheridge of Whiteville, North Carolina. Lofton, according to Juan, gained control of the first round, slipped the shots of Etheridge, and put together some good combinations, moving Etheridge into the ropes. And he also landed some hard body shots in the first round. Came back, same combination, second round. He sent Etheridge into the ropes again, and finally Lofton put together a final combination of head and body shots, sent Etheridge to the canvas. Referee Kenny Chevalier gave the count, weighed the contest off at 220 of round 2. Lofton now 4-1, 2 KOs. He'll take on. He defeated Etheridge, who's now 3-2-1. All three of his wins by KO. Germantown, Maryland featherweight Ibrima, now known as E-Boy Jawara. He defeated James Too Slick Early of St. Pleasant, Maryland, by 6-round unanimous decision. The two men fell each other out in the first round. Both fighters worked the ring well as they used the jabs to land the head and body. Second round, Jawara got the attention of Early. He started to deposit shots to the body. Body shots seemed to work as Early looked to slow down as round 2 ended. Jawara landed a jab to the eye of Early, Juan said. It looked to bother him at the end of round 3. He added pressure that Early stayed in the battle to land some sneaky overhead rights to Jawara. And finally, final round, Jawara pressured Early up against the ropes. Early tried to fight Jawara off, but landed a punch below the belt. Referee Bill Clancy took a point away from Early. He had been warned early in the bout for low blows. All three judges scored about 59-56 for Jawara, who is now 3-1, 1 KO. Early falls to 4-5. Now, Jawara has really fought well. I think his entire early career, he has fought very well. But he got that one disputed loss to Malik Lofton. But ever since then, he's fought very well. And actually, Jetta Promotions have signed him under contract. So he, along with Brandon Quarles, who we'll talk about in just a moment, are now under contract to Jetta Promotions. So congratulations to both Jawara and Brody Chambers. Clinton, Maryland bantamweight Jay Stansel III. He made his pro debut, a successful one, defeating the equally debuting Ramsey Washington of Cincinnati, Ohio, by 4-round unanimous decision. The shorter Stansel started with a jab to the body as the taller Washington used his jab to find his range. But Stansel body's work opened up an opportunity to land some nice hooks upstairs while Washington tried to keep his jab working. Final 10 seconds of the second round, Stansel landed a hard right hand as the bell sounded. Washington continued to use a good jab. It moved Stansel back during the third round, but Stansel was successful landing good counter shots, and Washington missed with his jab to finish the contest. Stansel won the bout by scores of 39-37 and 40-36 twice, and both men making their pro debut. Brandon Brody Chambers, we just talked about, he defeated Christopher Haney in a rematch by 4-round unanimous decision. It's a lightweight bout. Owings Mills, Maryland Chambers, and Haney of Glendale Heights, Illinois. Much the same fast-paced start as the first encounter, but Chambers was putting out a high quality of punches, and Haney returned the same. Third round, both fighters started to settle down a little bit, started to place their shots a little better, and Juan said at the midway point of the third, Haney landed the hardest shots. But Chambers came back strong in the fourth round and did some good body work to put Haney in a defensive mode and gave him the win. All three judges' scorecards, 40-36 and 39-37 twice. So Chambers remains undefeated. He's 2-0-1, 1 KO. Haney's still looking for his first win. He's 0-4-2. And in the opening contest, another battle of debuting boxers Blaze Fiedler Hernandez of Arnold, Maryland, and Baltimore's Antonio Dunston L. They battled to a 4-round draw. Dunston L established himself early by landing some good right and left hands that connected throughout the opening round. Hernandez came back, put together a little offense of his own during the second round as both fighters fought evenly at the center of the ring. Hernandez looked to put himself back into the mix, eating up the rounds at 1 apiece, and going into round 3, Hernandez started throwing the heavier shots but wasn't connecting as often as he'd like. Both fighters in the final round tried to close the show by equally landing clean counter punches. Dunston L, landed a hard right hand to send Hernandez off balance. Hernandez wasn't hurt by the punch, though. He came back firing some good shots to the body at Dunston L at the end. Judges scored about 39-37 for Dunston L, 39-37 for Hernandez, and one judge had it 38-38. So both men had a draw in their pro debut. So once again, congratulations to Tony and Kristen Jetta of Jetta Promotions. Another great card. Heard it was a packed house there, and Nick Tiberi did the matchmaking on that card. So again, another great show for Jetta Promotions. And again, Jetta Promotions do an outstanding job at Live Casino. They really got something going over there. Hoping they can even take it to even higher levels. Now, we're getting ready for our first bout. Our first bout in November. When next week we'll try to post the entire November schedule. But we do have 2 cards in November here in the Beltway. One will be at LaFontainebleau in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Those of you may know the LaFontainebleau in Lanham, Maryland. But this one's going to be at Glen Burnie, Maryland. And that'll be a Shabazz Brothers Promotions card. That'll be on November 16th. But on Saturday, November 2nd, there will be a TGB Promotions card that will take place at MGM National Harbor Casino, Knox Hill, Maryland. Now, although the main event bouts, we're going to talk about those next week, the main event bouts are not Beltway boxers. We have no less than 7 Beltway boxers scheduled to be on this card at the MGM National Harbor Casino on Saturday, November 2nd. And that local parade is being led by the undefeated Russell brothers, Antonio and Antoine, who compete in bouts either 8 rounds or 10 rounds. They haven't listed what the rounds are yet, but they've listed both men will be on this card. Antoine, the super lightweight, both out of Capitol Heights, Maryland, of course. Super lightweight Antoine risks his perfect record, 11-0, 11 KOs. He'll take on Juan El General Huertas of 24 de Diciembre, Panama. That's the name of the city. 24 de Diciembre, December 24th, Panama. I don't know why it's called that. One day I'm going to look into that. That's what it's called. Russell comes off a first-round knockout win over Luis Ronaldo Castillo. That was on September 21st in Bakersfield, California. Huertas is 14-2-1 with 10 KOs. He'll make his U.S. debut on this show. And he's winless in his last 2 bouts, including a third-round knockout loss to John Fernandez, on April 20th in Guecho, Spain. Antonio, who's really fought well this year, he's a bantamweight, 15-0, 11 KOs. He last fought on July 13th, won a 10-round unanimous decision over Francisco Pedrosa in Minneapolis, Minnesota. No word yet on Russell's opponent for this card. But both Antonio and Antoine, of course, fighting very, very, very well. Their older brother, WBC featherweight champion Gary Russell Jr., is training both of them along with their other brother, Alan. And they fought very well. So they'll be a part of this big card coming up on Saturday, November 2nd. Also on the card, a big bout. I think it's going to be a huge bout for one Cobia the Soldier Breedy out of Hyattsville, Maryland, by way of Bridgetown, Barbados. He'll be in a 10-round contest against Dennis Martillo Contreras. And he is out of Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Breedy is 14-0 and 10 KOs to his credit. And he is fighting very well. He won his first 10-round contest, and that was on August the 3rd in Brooklyn, New York. He won a 10-round unanimous decision over Ryan Lee Allen. Breedy, as I said, 14-0, 4 KOs. Contreras is 21-10-1, 19 KOs. Scored an upset in his last outing, defeating previously undefeated Fernando Garcia by 8-round majority decision on May 25th in Biloxi, Mississippi. Now, this bout again is huge because again, this is I think the most experienced boxer with one of the best records that Breedy has fought in his career, and he's taking some real steady steps upward. And this could be a big one for him. If he can get past this one, who knows? He could get ranked in the top 15 in one of the American rankings, and who knows from there. But this could be a big one for Kobe Breedy coming up. 10-round bout against Dennis Contreras on Saturday, November 2nd. Also on the card, Landover, Maryland welterweight Tariq IGB Irby. He's in an 8-round contest against veteran Joaquin Chico Chavez of Commerce, California. Irby's 8-0, 3 KOs, coming off a 3rd-round TKO win over Lucas Andres D'Adamo on August 31st in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Chavez is 9-18-1, 2 KOs, and he suffered a cut over left eye in his last outing on June 28th in Temecula, California. That bout was declared a technical draw. Excuse me. So Irby taking a little, the guy has an under 500 record, but he's very, very busy. He has faced some good competition, so we'll see what happens. Tariq Irby, I believe this is his first 8-round bout, I believe. I'm not sure, but he'll take on Joaquin Chavez of Commerce, California. Glenarden, Maryland lightweight. Devontae Speed Rawls. No, this is not Irby's first 8 round. I just said that. Devontae Speed Rawls out of Glenarden, Maryland, lightweight. He'll be in an 8-round bout against Wanzel Venom Ellison of Newark, New Jersey. This could be a big bout for Speed Rawls as well. Speed Rawls is 12-1-1, 8 KOs. He's advancing to the 8-round plateau for the very first time as he won a 6-round unanimous decision in his last bout against Jonathan Perez on May 25th at the Eagle Bank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia. That was, of course, the Jared Hurd, Julian Williams bout. Ellison is 11-1-1, 5 KOs. He has not fought since suffering his only loss, an 8-round unanimous decision defeat to Tony Luis in July of 2014 in Verona, New York. So that could be an interesting bout there. 8-round bout, Devontae Speed Rawls taking on Wanzel Ellison. Hyattsville, Maryland super lightweight Patrick YG Pat Harris competes in an 8-round encounter against Nelson Lara of Costa Rica by way of Nicaragua. Harris is 17-0, 8 KOs. He's had a good year. He returns to MGM National Harbor Casino where he won an 8-round unanimous decision over Donald Ward on July the 19th. Lara is 18-11-4, 10 KOs. He broke a 4-bout losing streak in his last bout, scoring a 6-round technical knockout over Berman Tinoco on May 4th in Heredia, Costa Rica. Tinoco, we must say, was 0-8 going into that bout, so we'll see. And so that's Patrick Harris taking on Nelson Lara in the 8-round bout. And also on the card will be the next big thing, Keyshawn Williams out of District Heights, Maryland. He's a welterweight. Williams is 6-0-1, 2 KOs. He has no opponent yet for this card, but he's coming off a first-round TKO win over Mario Alberto Perez Navarro on August 3rd in Brooklyn, New York. Now, we do have the main event. The main event will be a battle of former WBA super featherweight champions as Javier El Abejon Fortuna of Braintree, Massachusetts, by way of the Dominican Republic. He'll take on Jesus El Jinete Cuellar of Buenos Aires, Argentina. That bout is scheduled for 10 rounds, and that bout will be part of the broadcast that will take place on FS1 that night. Of course, Jesus Cuellar lost his WBA super featherweight championship to Gervonta Davis. So we'll see what happens. And a couple other big bouts on that card as well that are outside the Beltway. We'll talk about that more next week. But should be a great card. Saturday, November 2nd at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. And this is a TGB Promotions card. And again, a lot of Beltway boxers will be on this card. Now, as we talk to you, as we talk to you right now, in Brooklyn, New York, at St. Francis College, Tierra Brown is defending her NABO Super Featherweight Championship against Vanessa Bradford of Canada on tonight, and hopefully we'll get a result for you for sometime next week about that card. So we'll see what happens there. Now, last podcast, I should say, I had a commentary about a lot of the recent ring deaths that were taking place in the country, including Maxim Dadashev here at MGM National Harbor Casino early this year. And I tell you, as much as I was talking about it, I really had no answers for it. And I put out some theories and some possible questions, but really I had no answers. I had no real way to really talk about what could be done. Well, thank goodness for my old buddy Rick Glazer. Now, Rick Glazer is a well-known matchmaker, originally from actually still lives in the upstate New York area, but back in I guess about 2012 or so, he was doing matchmaking here in the Beltway at the Carroll County Agricultural Center for the late Mark Tucker Sr. and his son, Mark Jr., Mark TNT Tucker, and was doing matchmaking. We got to know each other, and he's doing very well. He had a cancer situation, but he seems to have beaten that. But he's well known. He knows so much more than I will ever know about the world of professional boxing, and he has put out a 17 item list of what could be the possibilities that lead toward the tragedies. And I want to read this to you because he has some ideas that I don't have, and I think he really should be this information should be shared. So he's saying he's being asked about boxing deaths and serious injuries that are happening recently. His theory is that there are many contributing factors that can come into the equation to cause catastrophic results, none of them being good. And these are some of the possibilities that could lead towards tragedies. Now, before I get into this real quick, there's been a debate over the last 2 weeks about one thing I did mention last week, and that was the debate over whether we should have same-day weigh-ins. And again, a lot of folks, I thought, back in early days, like I said, I talked to Daryl Tyson, I talked to Joey Gamache many years ago, and they were all for it. All for it, especially in Gamache's situation, because he was in a situation where he almost lost his life in a bout because of the weight situation. Daryl Tyson, being old school, had mentioned that they should go back to same day weigh-ins again. However, in recent weeks, I've heard from people, and they say that's not a good idea because you don't dehydrate. You don't hydrate well enough. You're still dehydrated, which is actually the number one thing that Rick Glazer talks about. This is the number one item. He says huge weight reductions causing dehydration. And so when they try to cut weight and they make the weight, a same day weigh-in situation wouldn't allow them to get that weight back. And that could cause more problems. So that's one thing. The first thing actually Rick Glazer talks about in his Facebook post. Number 2, fighters sparring too often, too many rounds. That could be very much the case because a lot of guys leave it all in the gym, and they don't recover very well once gym time is over. Number 3, kind of connecting to that is very rough sparring. So that has something to do with it as well. 4, fighters sometimes get softened up in a very rough previous fight. You get a lot of guys who and I know I've known some boxers in the Beltway. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've known some boxers who take rough fight after rough fight after rough fight, and they never really get themselves back into condition, and they have really problems there. Fighters themselves not recognizing signs of issues like headaches, dizziness, memory loss, and mental lapses in daily life. That does happen. I can see that happen. Boxing commissions in some states not requiring head tests such as an MRI after a knockout loss. Now, I believe all 3 of the commissions here in the Beltway require that. I know Maryland does because the lead doctor in state of Maryland is a certified neurologist. So I really believe that Maryland does that. I also believe that D.C. and Virginia do it too, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Boxing commissions not suspending fighters after rough fights when they go the distance, but the fight really requires some time off. And that's an interesting point because, basically the way boxing goes, if a boxer gets knocked out, they have to serve either 30-day or 60-day suspension. But if they fight in a tough fight but go the distance, they're not necessarily suspended after the fight. Now, in mixed martial arts, like I said, I think a few years ago, I think I told this story. I actually announced a mixed martial arts card. I did play-by-play for it, such as it was, and I really didn't know a whole lot. That was one time I really needed my analyst. But anyway, my color analyst, that is. But anyway, after the bout, I talked to David Holland, who was in Virginia. I talked to David Holland, who was the chair of the Boxing, Wrestling, and Mixed Martial Arts Commission, and he said, I think he said 10 fighters were suspended. And he said like 5 of them won the bout. So I was like, well, how's that happen? And this makes sense though, because a lot of times they are in real tough fights, and they have to come back and try to regroup, and it may not be enough time. That's the problem there. Okay, number 8, trainers not stopping fights soon enough and not taking responsibility as chief second. That's an interesting situation. Of course, we had that recently happen with Lamont Peterson, because Barry Hunter stopped that bout against in his last bout against Sergey Lipinets, and he stopped that before it got too bad. And Lamont is healthier because of it. He did the same thing as Errol Spence as well. And again, Lamont is healthy, doing things very well. He's no longer boxing, but he's helping out in the gym, and he's in his right mind right now. So that's good to hear. Trainers thinking when their fighter is way behind, they can will the fighter to victory, when in reality, common sense should prevail. Now, I agree with that, because I know, I remember Daryl Tyson did that with Alexander Johnson against a Russian boxer. I think it was Artur Beterbiev. And he knew he couldn't win, that Johnson couldn't win the bout, but he fought well enough to get the unanimous decision. I think it was the first time that anybody had gone the distance with Beterbiev. So we'll see. That was a tough one there. Politically assigned referees actually know very little, letting fights go on way too long. I don't have any really comment about that, but that's Rick Glazer talking. The fighters themselves being too brave, telling the trainer don't stop the fight, and the moron trainer listening to the fighter. And, I guess you could say, no, you couldn't say that. Now, I was about to say, you could say that in the Dowdy Duff situation, but I think Buddy McGirt really did enough to really save Dowdy Duff from, taking any more punishment, because they had taken any more punishment, he would certainly had passed away earlier. But it was just he could not save him, unfortunately. But Buddy McGirt did try, no question about that. Commissioned doctors that are influenced by the referee not to stop a fight. Now, I know that doesn't happen in Maryland, and probably doesn't happen in D.C. and Virginia, but I know for a fact it does not happen in Maryland. The doctors here in Maryland, they have complete control, and they feel they need to stop the fight. They'll let the referee know that, and the referee would not have any say so in the matter, really. So I know that doesn't happen in Maryland. The gloves being skinned back and extremely tight along the punch, having harder impact. They've talked about the different sizes, maybe going to a heavier size. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one either. Too much of the distribution weight of the boxing glove is in the waist area, not in front of the glove where the impact takes place. Again, Rick Glazer knows a lot more about that than I do, so we'll see. PEDs being used in boxing have a devastating effect, because some PEDs make you stronger, and some PEDs can give a fighter better endurance, which in fact allows a fighter to throw more punches than he normally could. Again, that's something Rick Glazer would know more about that than I would. We've had some issue with PEDs. So that's something we have to really consider there. Also, no proper medical knowledge by the trainers of head injuries, and that could be no proper medical knowledge about head injuries by the trainers. That could be interesting. And the final one he has here, illegal blows behind the head. That could have been the issue. That definitely was the issue with Richard Colon in his bout against Terrell Williams at the Eagle Bank Arena a couple years ago. And Colon's making progress, but he's never going to be the same as he once was. So those are some of the things that Rick Glazer talks about, all 17 of the items he talks about. And again, he knows a lot more about this than I do. So what do you think? Let me know. I'm on Twitter, Digital25. You can email me at boxonthebeltway I'm sorry, at beltwayboxing@hotmail.com. Let me know what you think. Maybe in a future podcast, I can give some of your ideas about what to do about this, because this has to stop. I mean, this is just scary now. It really is. No question about that. But I thank my buddy Rick Laser for that great information. Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network, brought to you as always by Real Time Pain Relief. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief, the official pain relief of the 2020 Daytona 500. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, great weight loss tips, great jewelry, and great training methods at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Thanks for joining me, everybody. As always, I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thank you again, and reminding you as always to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.